G'day everybody and welcome to TFC Open Mic Season 3 Episode 20. Post-raid review, new FM stuff, and we have some new armour. Big hello to everybody on the panel today. From my view, hey Brian.
Science?
Oh, we have some science today. And
no, we don't.
Oh.
Well, we might when we get to the FM stuff.
Okay. George, how are you, mate?
Very good. Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Doing well. And Hefe?
Howdy, everybody.
G'day. And Solhex?
Howdy, howdy.
And then we have Venom, I have a broken wing, Hurricane.
I'm bored and this hurts.
Wah, wah.
All right, so let's dive into it. Let's just kind of follow up last on the raid. Last week's show was kind of mid-raid. Brian, how did you end up?
Let's see, it was 66, I think. I got 2 wardens, and none of its weapon or special, and a flagship, and the flagship's out on the water, and I've had to make difficult decisions about what to put on that flagship and what to do with other ships. But it was hard, and I think one of the things they tried to do is they put something really, really difficult in that is the S target that you couldn't have even prepared for. Like if you were level 5 in an RPG and there was a level 30 monster wandering around the starting area, and so that you could see it and go, hey, I'm going to come back later and kill that. It's going to be amazing. But the problem is they didn't put really anything around your level there. Even the A sets were incredibly difficult, and they paid out only about half of what we're used to. So it was a grind, and it wasn't fun, and I just stuff during the raid wasn't fun. It was too hard.
Hey, Snoopy, last minute edition.
Yeah, I thought I'd nip in like and just cause a bit of mayhem before I'll go and get something to eat with my beer that I'm having. So.
George, how did you end up on the raid?
Honestly, I don't remember. I think I'm in denial that it even happened. It was atrocious. I know I got a flag. Hell, I might have even picked up 2. I don't know. I've put it out of my mind like it never happened.
Okay, Hefe?
It was unexpected. I was hoping for a lot of changes, so I didn't really play the first day. I was hoping for more changes than we got. So I ended up with the flag and a Howie, and that was about it. I didn't find it. I'm most upset with the fact that we never got any sort of preparation for this raid, as either in a TLC or a target on the water. And I'm still confused by that target as far as what the best way to build is at this point, assuming I stick with the scatterguns as far as the countermeasures. And it seemed like when they made the adjustments, it sort of screwed with whether you needed RA3 or the calm armor. I still haven't figured it all out, to be honest.
And Heath, I know you were fishing. Did you do anything in the raid?
Yeah, I got about 300 mil, I think, but I've got KDs. So that's the only reason you can do the raid. That's the only way you can do it. You can't do it without KDs.
Well, I'm glad you got some points. More importantly, did you catch any fish?
Oh, yes, that was far better.
And Ren just joined us. How are you, mate?
Hi, good, you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just talking about final raid roundup.
What raid?
Yeah, that
He's in denial too. We're all in denial.
I don't remember that anymore. I don't know.
Sol, how did you do?
I was shy of 50 mil. Very disappointed. Very disappointed.
Oh, so you didn't get the flag, or were you not intending to get it?
I didn't get. Well, I was just trying to get whatever I could. The siege raid, the first raid of that one, I was able to get almost everything on that prize list. $4 were done. I could do the B sets, easy enough, just grind it. This one, I mean, you couldn't do the B sets, with half-assed fleets. You couldn't do shit, anything.
Yeah.
So I got 2 Howies. I was aiming for the flagship, but I mean, 15 mil, and you don't know how much you're going to get. It's just, yeah.
It was a struggle for a lot of people, and especially for those using half-built fleets or lower fleets this time around. There was definitely not the ability to get points via grinding that we did have on the last raid set. Venom, how did you do?
I got about 100 million, but it was
Slacker.
painful to say the least. And I think someone should really consider buying Kixeye a calculator.
Hi.
They don't want yours.
No,
Probably has too many decimal places.
I mean, like an actual physical calculator, like a school, like the scientific calculator is just something
I
that
mean,
they can
I
actually
got
think
a-
with.
Maybe
I
they
give
can't.
them an
$84
HP12C.
over right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe they can't afford it because they sent Liam that tape dispenser years ago, so it's out of their budget now.
Yeah. Well, I ended up with 100 million kind of on accident. I just wanted the flag and the 2 Howies, and I did break down and run 1 gold crew, but I had done a lot of testing early on trying to find quick ways for people to get points kind of at the lower level rather than getting massacred in sets. And then there were some folks that posted some really good information on the page with regards to doing the individual targets instead of like grinding out the 60 set, but just going ahead and hitting the single targets like the 65s and those types of things. So thank you to those folks. That really did help people to get points. But yeah, it was dead. Didn't enjoy it, and hope that we won't see a repeat of it. Okay, Ren. I'm sorry, Ren.
I was just joking. I said what raid and whatnot. You just moved on. I'm like, oh, okay. She's serious now. No, for real. It was the first raid in many, many years. I had to grind 60s, and so because I didn't want to coin, and I didn't. Like, I didn't run grease monkeys. I didn't coin repairs. I had the manticores 4, almost finished. Like, all of them were missing some armor. But yeah, I'm gonna do some refits now that I know things better, as time allows. But so I could do 2 100s, then dock and repair. And while that was repairing, if I had my Skyfires or my Phoenixes ready, like repaired, I would just go out and grind 65s and could get anywhere from 1.2 to nearly 2 million points grinding 65s. And that was my raid. In the end, I think I got like 130, 140 million points, which was the flag, 1 flag, 2 Howies, a few Wardens, and a few Phoenix tokens, because I'm refitting my Phoenixes. Is that for me, the stupid thingy?
No, not for you, Ren.
Just asking. So that was my raid.
Okay, so we had a pretty big update this week. The first thing, of course, was the changeover to the base parts targets. They're going to be on the map for a month. The really positive thing of that is we can now use base parts to upgrade all of our remaining turrets.
Done!
I have 2 to go.
I don't remember anymore.
I have 6 turrets total.
I spent the last 3 days collecting base parts, and I have them all done now.
I actually need res to get the turrets up because I had to build the flag, and the 100 in the raid was resource negative. You spend more than you got, so it's like, oh.
So do you have something for titanium, Brian?
Yeah, I've got a set of skies fully built, fully skulled.
So here's my trick to get resources. I send Skyfires out on 45s. The 45s fill up it's the only target I know that fills up the Skyfires in 1 hit and does pretty much 0 damage to them.
Oh, sweet. I'll take that down.
So
Thanks.
yeah, I autopilot 45s, like 1 dock, 1 dock, 1 dock. And the Buccaneers, if you have Buccaneers, on level 65 base part targets. They also fill up in one hit and do barely any damage. So with the 2 fleets out, I can fill up real fast.
Yep, I've actually been using 4 icebreakers with no flag on the level 30 base parts target. So I've had like all of the above that you guys have talked to, and then I mistakenly threw my icebreakers into one and thought it was going to die, but it didn't. So yeah, I've been hammered for rares with the builds and the refits and just trying to stay current with that. And it's really frustrating considering the amount of things and the cost of things. I mean, just your upgrades are 80, 90 minimum each. And then, you know, let's not even get into the 200 million just for a hull.
Can we not talk about refits yet?
And for uranium, I just hit dubs with icebreakers. That's all. But then I drive. So I'm driving on the dubs, and I have the Buckies and the Skyfires autoing the low level for resources. And that's how I did it.
Why do the 103s not give any resources?
I think
whoever thinks I did that is dumb.
I think it was a new target, and they didn't have a fixed resource amount available for some ridiculous reason, but they had to assign one. So they gave every turret and wall chunk 1 of each res.
What, the 28?
Yeah. I haven't counted to verify, but I think that's what they did.
Well, there does seem to be an inverse relationship on the base parts targets between the number of base parts and the amount of resources.
Okay, I've only ever done 99s and 103s, but that might be the case.
Yeah, because the 30s give quite a bit.
Cool. And that's nice, I think. Help the lower players because they need res to do stuff, and they can't exactly hit some of the higher end stuff.
Yeah, I was happy to see that the new base parts targets, the high level one was actually paying out, because the current one is like 100 of each res, but the new one is actually paying a lot more than that. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
Can I almost swear and then censor myself about the fact that they decided to put the 83 into the base part targets? Like, hello?
Yeah, man. I doubt they solved the Kraken problem.
I don't think they did. I don't think they can. And, you know, if they can't, okay. But you know it's there, and you shouldn't be putting this onto the map where we no longer have half repair anymore. That just shouldn't have. Make it the 81. Who cares? Drop the rewards by 20k parts. It's fine. Not to
very
mention,
frustrating with those emitters popping up.
My statement still stands. Stupid as the stupid does.
Yep.
I mean, not to mention that they had to pull them immediately because they don't understand something, basic math. I don't know how, because didn't they screw this up with the Scourge uranium targets and the old titanium targets? If not, you know, anything in the interim, haven't they screwed up the transition by having way too much damage 3 times in a row?
I believe it was just a Scourge. I don't remember the titanium targets.
Okay, it might not have been that, but I mean,
but yeah, the Scourge targets were very, very overpowered. And you know, at first I didn't believe everyone. Everyone was just like, "Oh, they're killing it. It's, you know, overpowered." But then I was like, "Well, I've used my Fang Tooths and I won't get any damage from my Fang Tooths." But then I was like, "Well, let me try, you know, on auto the lowest target, which I used to do in the raid for free." I ended up with a half-dead Fang Tooth fleet. I was like, "Oh wow, okay, I believe them now." So I didn't see these targets that they had and how much damage they were, but it's running. You know, they keep on doing it.
I mean, it's just have the damage, or maybe 3/5 if you want to properly account for it. Like, it's not. This isn't hard, and it's not even that. Oh, we meant to half and then we doubled it, which is, you know, comedic ineptitude. But you're dunking fleets left and right. Like, there's no testing going on there. There can't be. Or at least the testers aren't being listened to if this is the case, especially twice in a row.
It's more than twice in a row. It's almost every target they bring out.
The problem is the testers. If the testers are testing for functionality, is it working? Well, yeah, it is. I can go in, I can engage, I fight a battle, I kill shit, I get out. If the testers don't actually play the game, what's missing to them is that notion of what's reasonable. Oh, it's working. Is it reasonable? it's working. Will players accept this as a reasonable damage for a map target? They don't have that meter about what's reasonable. It's just like, it works. Yeah,
you're talking about
it's not
Kixeye
broken.
testers, right? The ones at Kixeye?
Yeah, they're employees who do testing.
I'm assuming they're
My impression is they don't play the game, so they don't have a gauge for what's reasonable.
I'd have to agree with that.
Then that should be communicated to them by the people giving them the targets to test.
But the people giving them the targets to test, do they play the game on a regular basis? Do they know what reasonable looks like? How many of them today, designing, developing, coding, testing, play the game and know what reasonable is? That's the conclusion I arrived, because I see, oh yeah, whatever they're releasing overall works. Yeah, there are some kinks here and there. That's normal for software. I accept that, kinks. But they don't know what's reasonable. You know?
They don't know what fun is either.
Exactly. Well, yeah, they don't know what's fun. They don't know what's reasonable. And so they release stuff that's totally out of whack in terms of damage-reward ratio because they don't have that gauge.
The thing that concerns me in the past targets, with them not being dropped on the map and then having their damage reduced, the last 4 or 5 raids we've had charged armor. This time we don't, so the repair time is going to be huge on the map.
And it's not even that, it's we have armor that increases the repair time of our holes by, I don't know, let's say 1.5 for simplicity's sake. And we also don't have healing flagships, which in the case of the Bucks was like 8-to-1 ratio, I think. 120k armor on the flag versus 15k on the normal. And on the Hydras, I forget what it is, but at worst it couldn't have been, more than 3-to-1. So you're tripling the effective damage at the very least, and then multiplying that again by 1.5. So, times 4.5, times 24, whatever. It really adds up. And I don't think they can for all that at once. Oh, it's 15k for the normal HSCs. Yeah, never mind. So 8x the damage. They could have just done the healing flagship, and the hour 20, hour 30 that we were used to getting would have stuck every time, but it would have been better.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other night and comparing the repair times on the Manties, and they had brought up the canoe fleet, which was a high repair time. The big difference with the canoe fleet was that if you drove it well in the elite target, you could do it for very little damage.
Or zero damage.
Or no damage, yeah. You can somewhat, it looks like, with the skill hull, depending on how the targets progress, but you definitely can't with the auto hull in this.
Yeah, so it sounds like to me we have a skill hull, a skill setup for the Manticore that potentially does what it's supposed to do. So if you drive well, I saw people at 12-minute damage per target, that's great. But we have an auto setup that does an auto. Again, not for anything near reasonable damage.
It's not even that it doesn't auto necessarily, it's that trying to drive well, even driving the best that we've ever found is still 4 times the damage over something that's meant to be tankier and that we know is going to get into range of more weapons because of its lower range on its own weapons.
It wasn't even doing. Again, if you want to drive well, then you should be building the missile setup. Right. That's the one for people who want to drive well. The green setup, it's the setup for people who just want to press S or just engage and not even open the target to look what's going on.
Except for that's not the case.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, that the auto option is not even viable. It's just not. I mean, it was what, 5 hours of damage or something.
It's like the auto setup is a shitty skill hull.
Yeah, you drive it. You have to drive it like a skill. Oh, but you get no benefit.
I think everyone's still caught up on the skill hull and the auto hull. Personally, it seems like from what they've been doing is going less auto, but more lazy hull. So whereas
they said that it was an auto-friendly target. Their own words. It's an auto-friendly target. It's not.
It means that you can auto it, but doesn't mean that you can do auto well. But you can
auto anything. That doesn't mean it's an auto-friendly target. An auto-friendly target means that you can do it for reasonable damage, autoing it. That was not reasonable damage.
And I'm gonna go back. Okay, if we go back to late 2016 or early 2017, the auto hull was effective in the 80s or 70s back then. The tier A, not the. I mean, up to the Garrison raid last year, the auto hull was not capable of doing any elite targets. If you all remember that, Tide Seekers couldn't do the 107 in their raid. Whatever came after, the Ironclads couldn't do the elite targets, and then the Icebreakers couldn't do the elite targets. They were effective in the 80s, right? While the skill hull was the one you had to be good at to do an elite target. That only changed in the assault raid with the Skyfire. That was because they started creating. Well, not there yet, but they were like creating targets that could be done with the auto hull at the elite level. Like
I mean, I used the Tide Seekers in the S set.
Sorry, the Tide Seekers could not do the 107. They could do it the first elite target, the 103 or something like that, but they were just murdered by the third ship in the 107.
I think it depended because I think the 107 I used mixed. Like I mixed both fleets. I would start with
if
one.
you just had the auto hull, you could not complete that target.
Right.
So my point being, I would like to know if that's their intention, but that's something that should be declared. If they are going to say, oh, you know, we're back to where the auto hull is not up to par for the elite target, so stick to the 80s, but then it has to do the 80s as well. Like the Tide Seeker could do 3, 4 sets of 80s or more. Right? So are we back there? Are we back to that where, oh, don't do the scattergun version on the elite target? That's what it was last raid.
It's not just the elite target though. It's even the 80 sets this time were awful.
Yeah,
exactly. But then that's my point. If they are a no-go for the elite targets, then they should do really well in the 80s.
Yeah, and I was getting points per repair ratio about equal A's and S's with, 4 ships fully done, fully sculled, armor and everything, all the weapons, good as I could think to build them. Like that's not feasible, especially when you cut down the points that you get for the A set by half and jack up the prices of everything, and here we go again.
And their excuse saying, "Oh, well, you've got 4 months to have the fleet built," it's not really generally acceptable to state that, because it's the first time we're seeing the target, and nobody in their right mind is going to spend the amount of coin they want us to spend getting the fleet right. There's no chance of it.
Yeah, you're not testing us after 4 months. You're testing us every single month.
Yeah.
And you haven't built the raid target to what players could reasonably have in any sense of the word. You had to have gone to missiles, or you had to have been a god with scatters. And even then, you probably would have had to spend a lot of coin or time refitting for testing. That's just not viable. It's, the level 5, level 30 thing again. We don't have that sort of tech, and you're asking what is impossible of us. So
well, I only refit once because I refused to do any testing. I refit the agility system off of it because, apparently evade doesn't work on a missile target anymore. So,
well, 1,000% accuracy was a thing in the past.
Well, at least for this missile target. Yeah, we don't know about next one.
They better change something, yeah, and we better know what's going on, because like there are people that are building the Cadies now, and if that's not going to be a viable thing next month, oh boy.
Well, we also need to know what's going on yesterday, like right the hell now, but also yesterday, because I have to make a decision as a non-coiner whether or not I want to refit my entire fleet of scatters to missiles, because I couldn't. I can't get a new set of hulls out for VXP weekend because, there's no tokens in the raid anymore, and I needed to get the flagship out and weapon up and stuff. So I have no idea what to do going forward, and it's a month or more to fully get everything out, and I can't do that. So I need to know to even get like half a fleet out, and I can't make that decision because there's no communication. So I have to guess in a strategy game.
Well, and I think there were some things that they did do good communication-wise at the beginning. They did bring out the information that we were going to be finding, the ships with the turrets on them and all of that kind of stuff, which was really good. It was nice to know that up front so that we could kind of plan on our builds. But then they kind of left the bit out that the prototypes can't be countered, and then that was brought up halfway through. And so I know people that were refitting thinking that this countermeasure didn't work and that one didn't. It's okay to let us know that here's this new animal, it's got this new weapon, and oh, by the way, it can't be mitigated, when everything else that we've seen from the last raids, we've had the ability to be able to do that on specific targets. So I think sharing that up front would have probably saved a little bit of refit time for a lot of people. Okay, so we've kind of talked through the raid for everybody. FM prizes. Does Venom? I know you got up close and personal with the new armor from the FM.
It's overly disappointing to the point where when we first saw it, a few of us in my alliance put out both forum posts and posts on different pages stating that it's just not worth it. And for lower level bases, yeah, if they don't have all the turrets, you should be grand. But for anyone who's got all of the turrets done, it's a joke. It's not. They haven't calculated it out to what we have, and it's very much calculated to what is coming. And that's just not helpful to anyone. We needed an armor which would, I don't want to say mitigate the two turrets, but at least lower the damage so it was doable. But they give us an armor which, even when you put all of it on, so we have 3 MC Plate 1s and 2 MC Plate 2s, you were still dying in seconds. And it's just poorly calculated. Very, very poorly calculated. To the point where it looks like there's been no thought into it at all. And it's just very, very disappointing for a lot of us to see. Especially after the 2 weeks of just, there's no PvP going on at all at the top level. My alliance is basically just shut. There's no point in us hitting anyone that's actually worth hitting. And it's just back to BBC clubbing again. And nobody wants to do it. None of us want to hit lower level players, but we're being forced to because they cannot use a calculator and they cannot physically count. And no matter how many times we have said, look, this isn't going to work, this is too overpowered, or this is too weak, they just ignore, say, no, we know what we're doing. But you clearly don't. You clearly do not understand the mechanics of the game properly, and they clearly cannot use a calculator. That's so frustrating to see.
I don't know if it's they don't understand the mechanics. I think they don't understand the repercussions of what they're letting out into the wild, into the game, because they don't play it. They have no context.
Well, if they didn't play the game, they could at least calculate that items would be too strong for what's there. They have all information there to use.
But maybe, maybe they're betting that, hey, you know what? Only maybe 1,000 players have all the 4 Howies and the 2 blunderbusses and know how to build a proper base layout to maximize that. So maybe 1,000 bases are uncrackable and everyone else isn't. Because remember, all it takes is for someone to have missed 1 Howie or 1 blunderbuss, and missile cruisers properly built to just waltz in with very little damage.
Yeah, but they've got access.
And that is bad for the game because the broken mechanic is not just, oh, let's release a better armor, because right now the game is extremely black and white. It's like either you're a farm and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, or you're uncrackable and there's nothing the attacker can do about it. That's it.
But they've got access to the data, so they have to know that, and they should be looking at that to see that if just using 100 as a breakpoint. I don't mean
Yeah,
anything.
but all due respect, I mean, they have had access to data since they started making this game, and you know, apparently you can give monkeys access to data, and you won't get the results you'd like to have.
It boils down.
I don't offend anybody. I'm just saying it's just awful.
They
you know.
said they'd made mistakes with the Epic Mort, and their solution to the problem was cutting down the fire support. They said that they didn't want to do anything that bad again, but over and over again, they're pushing stuff out which is just so much more broken. So much more broken.
Yeah, the whole tier 7 mechanic, the way they've implemented it, is not. It's never going to work. I mean, at least we haven't seen it work to this point, because it's just making those turrets so powerful. I just don't see how they can, by using damage and deflection, how they can come up with something that's ever going to be balanced and allow players to rise up. Because if until you hit that magic number of turrets that maybe you needed to get through bounty or raids or whatnot, all you're going to be doing is minimum damage or over damage.
Yeah, there's a trickle down on this as well, because let's just say all of the heavy hitters have all of the turrets. Well, they can't hit each other because there's no point. Their fleet's going to die.
Exactly.
So the result of that is they then go down and say, okay, well then let me look at the lower guys, and I can go and hit them. And then these lower guys, lower to mid guys, may not have been able to get every single turret. So they're getting walked. I mean, I'm seeing it.
We know they didn't, because remember, only about 1,000, 1,200 players got enough points in bounty to get everything every time.
Yeah, I'm seeing it in my sector where high level players that normally are only hitting high level bases are actually going out there and hitting much lower levels. And I'm not talking about Monday Alliance points. I'm talking about these are the only bases that they can go out and hit without eviscerating their fleet. And so I'm seeing.
And again, that's boring because there's no challenge. And overall PvP base hitting overall is like that. It's either impossible to win or there's no challenge. And that is not fun. And again, that is the outcome of people designing, coding, and testing things who don't have a gauge because they don't play the game. So they don't know what's fun. They don't know what's reasonable.
You'd think after they recognized that players didn't like the binary nature of subs, they wouldn't do something like this in PvP where PvP becomes binary. I mean, that's just, I don't know. That seems like it's common sense.
Now, the other side effect is bounties coming up. Probably next weekend, and it's going to be a full 100% PvE event, because the low levels are not going to join because they are farms, and the high levels won't be able to steal bounty from each other. So either they're not going to join because it's not fun, or it's going to be a PvE event where you got to search for the right replicas to hit, which won't be that many because the guys with the weak bases won't be joining. Think about it.
Bounty isn't the next month.
Say that again?
Bounty isn't the next month. I don't know what's happening next week.
Well, don't we have a bounty next month? Next week? Sorry.
In theory, probably. In reality, not for me, no.
Oh, not for you, so it's your choice not to join.
Not for a lot of people, I think.
Not for a lot of people.
I understand that. I'm just saying, KixEye will have a bounty event next weekend, one day, if they follow their usual calendar.
Yeah, and if it's going to be as bad as this is starting to look, I'm betting that we're going to be seeing those bounty prizes in Raid.
Well, but we're also going to get bounty changes too.
It doesn't matter. They can, they can give bounty on Pink Lollipop. Doesn't matter.
It's still going to be
what I've just said.
It's going to still be a PvE event if you're going to join.
It's going to be a screwed up PvE event because of everything I just said.
The bounty changes on top of the inability to hit any bases that would actually have bounty stored. There's not going to be anyone to hit. Everyone who will get bounty is going to store it pretty quickly because they're changing the way storage is done. And the ones that might have the extra over the required amount, you're never getting in their base. Not a chance. It's just not possible. It's 100% going to be PvE event.
Yeah.
You're never going to hit a base.
I mean, literally, I can leave my bounty unbanked the way it is right now, and I can leave my base with no guard, and still I doubt people will be able to destroy my OP. And I'm not that talented of a base builder. I'm just saying, it's broken.
Brian, I think you had a point you wanted to make.
About PvP or the trolling thing, but let's go with
The
PvP.
PvP.
Yeah. So, looking forward, it's very weird because we've only seen two types of damage, ballistic and pen, that matter in any capacity. And in a sense, what they did with the group turret bonus and with only introducing two damage types is they made it really easy for them to change things. But on the other side of the coin, that also means they're really lazy. They don't have to do anything else except they have to release new turrets. And one of the things that annoys me is a bunch of these turrets are crap. Like the blunderbuss and Halo on their own are terrible. They only exist to give group bonuses to the other ones. And I guess on some level that's okay, but I feel like turrets need to be powerful enough on their own. But that's not really the point I'm trying to make. There's no strategy. And I know we've covered this before, but only two damage types, only two to defend against. You can't pick, I'm going to be strong against ballistic and pen, but if they have radio concussive, then I'm going to be countered. It's not a give and take. There's no strategic option. It's numbers versus numbers. And they can't balance those numbers properly. They've already shown it, unless they're working on some other meta level where the super high-end bases can't be cracked and that's your reward. And I guess in one sense that's okay, but I think they're going to see a loss in revenue because the high-end players can't hit each other. So I think that they're going to come to revisit that later. It just seems like an easy, cheap design, but they can't execute on it properly. I think it would have been better if they made different kinds of turrets. We should have ballistic pen and a radio out now, and maybe a concussive, something else.
Disagree with you, Brian. I don't think it's a good design with poor execution. In this particular case of the tier bonus, I think it's a bad design.
I mean, I think it is too, if I'm honest.
It's a bad design. I mean, the moment the turrets don't have usefulness on their own, and they're only good if you have the complete pack, it's a problem. You broke it. I mean, why do I have a Halo in my base? Oh, because it buffs the other guys.
Well, you know, I think part of it is that we haven't seen the whole shebang, because what GDR on the show had said July, is that what he said, when we're going to see the balance point? Because I asked him about all the stuff, and it's still sitting wrong with me. But that might be a possibility. The other thing, though, that's a problem is for bounty. One thing that they might not realize is that, you know, the players that hit bases in bounty actually hit bases. We don't hit the map targets. Some of us don't have time to hit the map targets like that. And if you can't hit a base and have, like, I mean, enjoy the part of hitting the base, that's there's fun to it, right? If that's not there, why bother?
Well, also you gotta think, a lot of people have, like, the replica bases are replicas of our bases. So how many replica bases can we actually do? If, you know, a lot of people are going to have, you know, all the blunderbuss and all the Howies and some of the replica bases, and then, well, that's not going to be done, or it's going to be very expensive if done.
Yeah, if the reap isn't quick, then the map's going to fill up with a lot of unhittable bases.
I did some quick math on it, and the bases that are most likely to be doable at all are the lowest end, and you'd have to farm something like 500 replica bases just to get the points required, if we're doing the same points as last raid or last bounty. Just to
And
get
then there's
exactly, and I've
it's
seen
just a joke.
There's that trickle down
Yeah,
effect again.
I've seen.
Sorry, so I was just going to say there's that trickle down effect again, where people are now going to be looking for bases without the Howies in it, and so they're going to be sweeping through and just insta walking through the lower bases, and then, you know, people that normally would use those to get their points are going to be fighting for those.
And I'm going to just say, you know, before anyone jumps in too, I would really look at whatever the new rules are, make sure we all understand what the new rules are, and then decide, because I don't know, if I was a lower level player and I knew that all the high guys were not going to be able to be hitting bases, I know I have a target on my back. My base is going to be visited all the time.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. We know there's changes that are coming, and people have made decisions before we even know what those changes are. I understand with the armor and the bases and that, but yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what comes out in the update Tuesday or Wednesday with the way that base hitting is, as well as these new changes that are going to be implemented.
Now, what are the odds they're going to make some radical move on the update on Tuesday before Bounty?
Over damage change. Calling it now. Hoping I'm wrong. Don't care.
Over
Now,
damage.
how does over damage help your ship survive past the first turn against the base without cannons?
No idea, but I think that's what they're going to do.
It doesn't. That's my point. It doesn't.
No, it's going to.
You can,
I don't know,
you can
'cause
change the ship damage however you want. They will not make past the second turn.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to touch over damage, because I was testing yesterday with someone popped into the base, and I was testing my Hope, and it had all the new rockets, right? It's supposed to be 636 a pop or whatever, and I mean, 5 minutes on one MSC, and it didn't die. So I don't even know if over damage is freaking working at this point.
Well, it could be also over defense. They might add over defense so that it'd be, something. I don't know.
The only thing that would be
If they complicate this even more, people are just going to leave.
All right, guys, one at a time, please.
The only thing I think they could do that would be effective, that they might do at the last minute, that would be unexpected, is a radical reduction of the points required in Bounty. Anything else is going to just cause confusion, uproar, and probably would have been poorly thought out based on the previous history that we've seen recently. So that's the only thing I could see that would save things until they figure out a way to balance the base hitting PvP part of the game. That's the only obvious solution that I see, is just a massive reduction of the points required.
Brian, you had something? I'm sorry, Sol?
No, it's not going to happen. I mean, we're just joking around with the over defense, but I wouldn't pass it. They would probably do something about that, even though they told us no. We're going to give the player base time to process what we're going to implement and that stuff. Well, it's not happening.
Okay. All right. George, did you have something? Did we lose George?
I don't know. He's not on mute.
Okay.
Did someone ask something? I was having problems with the damn mic.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, did you want to talk about the article that you popped up real quick so that people can look at that in the video?
Oh, the turret calculator that is that
Yes.
what we're talking about? So yeah, the last this is actually a really good example of a good culmination of team effort. Back in I think February, Ren and I had a conversation, and we were talking about fire support and how it was stacking, and then that led me to start doing a little tiny spreadsheet so I could keep track of math, because I really, while I still do it, I hate it, and I'm not that great at it. And eventually, I started asking Kix for some information for other stuff, and we started getting the tier 7 group stuff, and then Templar Vengeful one and I were testing some stuff for how that stacked, because what I had gotten for information didn't match what was happening in game. And this whole big production ended up in this massive spreadsheet that I had, and it was really helpful to try and figure out how everything was working. Venom actually went a step further, and he actually took the math and could tell you what retro levels were on a turret that was hitting him. I mean, it got that specific. So we tested, the math was tested a lot from February to now. And I actually had gotten a hold of Wayne last week or the week before, and I was like, hey, all I wanted to do is try and figure out how to get the spreadsheet onto a page so that people could use it. and he went Superman on me and made this just really awesome whole calculator thing, and it's both on the blog and on his site, and it helps really figure out like what damage you're putting out, and then you can compare it to like how much armor you're putting onto a ship or anything like that. So it's a turret damage calculator, and I hope it helps. I don't know if they're going to eventually put the actual real numbers in the game, because nothing matches in the game for what's really happening, which is problematic when you're trying to do stuff. And I got to give Wayne a lot of props. I mean, he went like absolutely Superman on the thing, just completely made it look gorgeous. It's Excel porn now. So
nice. And then Ren posted a video that included tips on his world famous base clinic. He included tips on how to build as well as how to use that as well. So that was really good, and that is also on the TFC Facebook page. Okay. VXP. Has anybody? I've been hearing. I've not had a chance to do it yet. Has anybody been hearing anything about reduced VXP, or am I missing something?
I think the max you can get is 22,000 in a target, and that's inclusive of damage dealt and damage taken, which is absolutely complete, utter horseshit, because they bumped the needed VXP for all of these hulls. Like, I mean, the flagship, it has enough VXP limit to make it look like a Conqueror hull. I have no idea what the hell's going on, but all this is unacceptable.
I'll be honest, that's a problem for coiners only. Like, I don't coin. I haven't coined VXP weekend in nearly a year. I just hit, dock, slow repair, repeat. So by now I did it 3 times. And some shells I had that I'm only suiciding. Manticores, mind you, so they take forever to repair. You know, like they repair in 9-10 hours. So they are at 54, 56%, something like that. Tonight before midnight, I'll do it once more. Probably going to get them to 60 something. 0 coins spent. You just like log in, put the crew, launch suicide.
That makes it worse. That makes it worse for non-coiners, Ren, because you're not going to be at 100%. The targets.
Hold on. As an old player, is before I had to spend months hitting salvage to get my VXP, and now I can do that in 2 days. It's not worse. It's better.
It's worse. You're not going to have them fully. Are you going to have them fully ranked?
Say that again.
Are you going to have them fully ranked?
No, not my goal.
Are you going to have the flagship fully ranked?
Why is that so important?
Because the targets are tuned clearly for fully ranked hulls. I mean, they come out and say it now. So unless you're actually fully ranked, you're going to have a harder time in every damn target, because that's the way they're tuned. So it's actually worse for the non-coiners now, because you can't. Hold on a minute. Let me finish, Ren. You cannot get these things ranked all the way up, because all of the higher VXP requirements. Whereas if they were the old requirements, this would be fine. You could actually pull it off. You can't now.
I don't agree. I think just in that particular aspect, players are just too spoiled. I mean, you used to take months hitting salvages to get something ranked.
But we don't need them to be. We don't need them to be skulled, right?
65%, 64%. I've done most of my raids with ships less than skulled. I mean, my Skyfires weren't skulled until the 3rd month. My Manticores were 50-something%. My Buccaneers, I did first raid, they were 50-something%, which is what I can reasonably get. And you can see all my videos from the first raids. They're never skulled, and I do well.
Well, we're going to disagree, because I think it's a disservice.
We're going to disagree. For coiners,
I think it's
much worse. You got to coin more.
I think it's worse for the non-coiners, because they need that advantage more than the coiners do.
Like, I'm going to say that again. Go check my videos. I did really well every first raid of every cycle and second without having skulled ships. I just don't think it's a reasonable expectation to set for the player base.
Get them out too, though. That's not a real non-coiner viewpoint.
What do you mean?
How can I help you, gentlemen?
Yeah, Brian. I mean, you go ahead, man. You know.
Yeah, so the first month, and I didn't really know from that point that it was 95,000 or whatever, but I knew I needed some weapons on because I could do damage to get VXP. I got back about 6 o'clock on the Friday night because actual hours now. Go in, triple salty, kill them all. Grease monkey, slow repair. Right before I go to bed, triple salty, kill them all. Wake up, they're repaired. Triple salty, kill them all. Before it ends on the 9 p.m., triple salty, kill them all. That was, I want to say 73, 74, and I could finish them up with the VXP tokens I gained in the campaign prior to the raid. 4 Scold Manties for raid 1. Do I think that it should be a requirement for the first raid in the cycle? No. But I scold them anyway? Yes, I did have to use a grease monkey, which not everyone has access to. So I figure they'd have been about, 68, 70, if not for that, which is not ideal, but I think it's okay. I just finished sculling my flag just now. But if they want scold the first raid, I don't think that's reasonable. But scold the second raid on, yeah. Or if they're going to make more VXP for them now, then I think they need to release VXP in alternate ways, like tokens and TLCs. Because if you wanted to build a second set of shells to rank this weekend, if you wanted to start like a missile setup or whatever, you needed to start that way in advance, and you wouldn't have the time to rank them, or you just have shells with no weapons. So it would be very difficult for that to happen.
Okay.
So you got yours at 70% or so without coins, right? And then finished off with tokens from the TLC. Right?
Without coins and discounting the fact that I had a grease monkey, I'll say there was one less hidden there.
Yeah.
But it was like 73 or
so
thereabouts.
We did it similarly, right? Because I did no grease monkeys, and I got mine to close to 60% during last VXP weekend. And then with the VXP tokens from the TLC, I got mine to 60-something%. And that's how I did first raid. I was doing 2 100s before I had to dock. No problem.
Okay, I'm going to just jump in here so we can hear from some of the players. Sol, you got your VXP done?
Well, I didn't get any new ships or anything like that, so I didn't do VXP. But I do know that y'all are prioritizing on the higher VXPs. There's other ways to get VXP, such as cargo, such as the unidentified raiding fleets. And sure, you can kill off your fleets at on the higher VXPs, but there's all the other ways to get VXP during the VXP weekend. And of course, the VXP on the unidentified raiding fleets are kind of low, but still, you grind that thing out, you can get scold.
You're right.
So
that's how that's how I ranked my chameleons. They had some armor, they had weapons, and I ranked them on the unidentified raiding fleets. So, like very well.
But normally I do coin for VXP, because I can't be asked to just to grind it out, so I don't feel like doing it. So I do coin it sometimes, but this time I don't have anything, so I'm not coining it.
Okay, Venom.
I've got my flagship for the Manticores sort of 10% ranked, and I'm not coining the repair on it, so it probably won't get skulled.
Okay, Hefe.
Yeah, I didn't have any real problems. I didn't use any coins. I had an MSC I needed to rank up as well, so I used that to tank in front of the 105, and then I would have the flagship behind it. And sometimes most of the time I would actually use one that was also all the way ranked, and I would create sort of a V with the 2 missile stormtroopers in front, and then the flagship in the back. They would tank all the damage. The flagship would still be doing enough damage. Then I would send the missile stormcruisers off to kill the rest of the target. I would be taking less than an hour damage on the missile stormcruisers, and I would get 11K on the flagship, but I wouldn't have taken any damage. And then I would repeat it and then I would go back and slow repair my. Sometimes, depending on the time of the day, sometimes I would go back and I would slow repair the missile storm cruisers and then go out and do it again. But if I was going to be away for a little period of time, I would do that a third time and kill off all 3 of them. And, you know, then I would get 11,000, then 22,000, and get, you know, an hour on the Conquerors. And then I would get 3 hours on the ship. So 5-hour repair with no grease monkey. Then I would come back and repeat it. And yeah, I got mine at 75% at this point. And no coins. Yeah.
I was wondering if the MSC tank was going to work, because I got like a couple of hours to get mine done, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Snoopy, or is he off getting a beer?
No, I'm here.
How's your VXP going?
It's done. I just had the two Manticore flags to rank, so it's like a case of keep logging in every 2.5 hours, like, or so. Put a crew on, go and suicide them, and then tonight I came in from fishing and just decided I'll just throw 20 coins at it and gone done.
Nice. Yeah, also for folks that are out there, don't forget that it is the 105 VXP is the highest one. Pays out the Defender tokens for VXP as well, and there is nothing nicer than just being able to instantly skull a Defender fleet. So if you see any of them that are out there that have been half hit, you know, and you're able to kill them with like missile fleets, by all means go out there and do it, because those tokens come in real handy.
6 hours left.
Well, actually, everybody has to wait until I've finished ranking, and then they can go out and hit them.
So I'm still waiting to see Snoopy's, you know, pictures of the fish. Like I don't believe he caught anything.
Ooh, challenge accepted.
Oh dear. Well, there's been so many fish, but it was still better than doing the whatever it was, the raid. That was it. It was a raid, wasn't it?
Yeah, a bad day of fishing is just about better than anything else in life, I think.
And it was sunny.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we talked about VXP. We talked about the new FM stuff, at least for the armor. Has anybody put on the new SB splash reduction thing, and have you seen a difference with that?
I have it on, but nobody will hit.
Same here.
No
Have it on, no hits.
Now, I was curious as to how well that worked. Okay, does anybody else have anything?
I think we covered everything. I don't know if there's anything else that we missed.
Yeah. So if Kix follows the path they normally do, we should see Bounty next weekend, which is, if they do, is going to be interesting, because next weekend is like a huge holiday weekend for the US. And I know a lot of people are looking at not participating. You know, obviously that's up to those folks to do that. So we should have an update this week, which Tuesday or Wednesday for the Bounty. Rampage, of course, did not have a Rampage reports last week. Maybe we'll see one this week. And then we'll have our show next week with the whatever day the update's on. So that's all I had. And thank you to those of you that joined us in chat. We certainly appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you guys next Tuesday. And thank you to everybody that showed up on the panel.
Have a good night, guys. Good luck with the rest of VXP, and enjoy the weekend.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Later, everybody.
Take care.